Hello and welcome to Essa Group. Today we're going to go over the general instructions for the new updated citizenship form N-400. The N-400 is the application for U.S. naturalization. All right, first things first, please ensure that you are using the correct version of the form N-400. The new version was just released in April of 2016, so please make sure you have the correct form. All right, the new form is 20 pages and has 18 parts. It was last revised in April 2016. It looks like this. You should see the USCIS form N-400 in the corner here. And the expiration date is 03/31/2019. Okay. So please make sure, and here it is in real time, the application for naturalization. Here it is, Form N-400, expires 03/31/2019, and each page, page 1 of 20. I say that because the last form had 21 pages, so you want to make sure that you're using the correct form. All right. Now, before beginning the Form N-400 application, please make sure that you are eligible to become a U.S. citizen. You don't want to go through all that work and pay all that money just to find out it wasn't right, okay? Eligible means that you are qualified at this time to become a citizen, all right? A few general guidelines. You need to be at least 18 years old. You need to have been a permanent resident for the last 5 years, or married to a U.S. citizen for the past 3 years and have been a permanent resident for the last 3 years. Okay? You need to demonstrate continuous residence and physical presence in the U.S. That means that you can't have traveled too many days out of the year, or not taken trips longer, 6 months or longer at a time without special permission to come and go. Right? You should also be able to read, write, and speak basic English. They will be testing for that throughout the interview. There are a few exceptions. So there are exceptions and accommodations. So the English language exemptions usually have to do with your age and how long you've been here. Age 50 or older at the time of filing has an exemption. If you've been here for 20 years, okay, or age 55 and older and you've been here for 15 years. There's also some military exemptions and accommodations. So you can see that here under the exceptions and accommodations link, and I'll have that down below as well. All right. All right. So the full USCIS eligibility worksheet looks like this. Okay, Naturalization Eligibility Worksheet Instructions. It's a very easy to follow eligibility worksheet. You can see it says, I am at least 18 years old, true, not true. I am a permanent resident, true, not true. And you go through basically you go through the flow chart. All right, very easy. Okay. All right. You want to type or print clearly. If you print, use black ink. All caps is preferred on the application. You want to type very neatly or write very neatly and clearly so everything is very easy to read. If extra space is needed at any point to answer a question, you need to attach additional sheets of paper. And on each additional sheet of paper, you should write your name, your alien registration number, the date, the application page number, part number, and item number. Very important, so they know exactly what you're referring to, and your signature. Okay, so for each additional page, you want to have those things on there. Right. Answer all questions. If you're going through the application and something is not applicable to you, just put in NA. If the answer is none, put in NA. That shows that you've read the question. If you just leave things blank, they might think that you skipped it or didn't see it. So it's better to just go ahead and put NA so they know that you saw it and that you've checked it off, right? You must complete sections 1 through 15. Do not complete sections 16, 17, and 18, but send in those pages of the application, right? You will complete 16, 17, and 18, those sections at your interview. Okay. Avoid highlighting, crossing out, writing outside the area provided for a response. When things get too messy and there's lots of crossouts, they can't read it, and it makes things more complicated. So if you have to make a lot of corrections, just go ahead and print out a new form and rewrite it. That's the best thing. Okay. Provide your A number on the top right corner of each page. And your A number is located on your permanent resident card. Your A number should have 7 to 9 numbers, and not everyone. There's a few people, depending on when you've come, that if you don't have an A number, that's okay too. So, but if you have an A number, most people do. It's 7 to 9 numbers. You want to fill all those squares in the application. And if it's only 7 numbers, you can see here at the top of the form, this is on every page, enter your A number. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But if yours is only 7 numbers, put 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or if it's only 8 numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So you want to, don't leave any of those blank there. Want to fill them in. And the A number you can see is on every page of your application. All right. Let's see. Your application must be properly completed and signed. A photocopy of the application is fine as long as you have the handwritten signature. Okay, if you can't stamp it or type your name or sign it and then photocopy it, they won't accept it. So it's not acceptable. You have to have your original signature on that application. Okay, please make sure. Your application must be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee. So as of today, August 1st, 2016, the current filing fees are $680. So the fee for filing your naturalization application is $595. And then the biometric services fee, which is your fingerprints, is $85. Okay, so you want to make a check or money order on a U.S. bank payable to the Department of Homeland Security. Don't put any initials, don't put DHS or anything like that, and don't send cash. Okay. You may use a credit card, but there's a different form for that you'd have to send in. I'll put a link to that down below. And also, let's see, so if you're applying based on your own service in the military, again, there's different requirements for military. I'll put that link down below. So you want to make sure if you're part of the military, you follow those instructions, okay? And then there's no filing fee required, certain things like that. If you're over 75 years or older, and you're filing on the basis of service in the armed forces, you don't have to send biometric services fees as well, okay? So you want to check that service fee so you're sending in the right amount of money. All right, there's also fee waiver guidance based on your employment. So you may file a fee waiver based on your inability to pay, and that's Form I-912, and you would send that form in with your application. Okay, don't send it in by itself, send it in with your application. Right? You may file early. You may file Form 9 N-400 90 days, 90 calendar days before you complete your permanent resident requirements. Okay, and let's see, there's a USCIS early filing calculator. Here it is, it looks like this. If you go here to the early filing calculator, you can click here. and say my anniversary date is going to be the end of the year. Say it's going to be 12/31, 2016. I calculate the earliest I can file the N-400. You can see it would be October 2nd, 2016, 10/2/2016. So you definitely do not want to file before that early filing date, because you may lose your money. Your application, even by one day, may get denied. Pay special attention to that. Evidence. You must submit all required initial evidence along with all of the supporting documentation with your application at the time of filing. So anything that that is required, there is actually, I have a video about all the documentation that you need to send in. And there's also the document checklist. I'll have a link to that below. And you can see exactly what you need to send in with your N-400. Okay? And then, so everyone needs to send in these top things, and then you need to send in copies of the following documents as they pertain to you. Okay? So if you had a divorce, you might need to send in your divorce paper, your divorce certificate, things like that, okay, or a death certificate, things like that. So you're going to go over that document checklist really carefully, and like I said, I also have a video on that document checklist specifically. Right. All right, the biometric services appointment, your fingerprints appointment. After you file your application, the USCIS will schedule your biometric services appointment at a local application support center, and you're going to need to provide your fingerprints, photograph, and your signature there. It will tell you the date, time, and location of your appointment, so you really pay attention to that. Failure to attend that appointment may result in the denial of your application, so be very careful. A lot of people travel after they send in their form, after they send in their N-400, and then they don't get this appointment and they miss it, and then that becomes a problem. So if you have to travel after you send in your application, have someone check your mail. Make sure you don't miss that appointment. All right, copies. Unless it is specifically required that an original document be filed with your application, please send in a legible photocopy. Okay? Original documents submitted when not required, you may not get them back. They will not necessarily be automatically returned to you. They may be destroyed. So be very careful. If they don't ask for an original, send in a copy, please. Translations. This is important too. Any document submitted with information in a foreign language, so your marriage certificate or anything like that that is in a foreign language, needs to be translated, and the translator must certify that the English language translation is complete and accurate, and that he or she is competent to translate from the foreign language to English. Okay. Links below will include lots of things, okay? I will do the full USCIS eligibility requirement worksheet, okay? And another one about who is eligible for naturalization, because that's really big. And that chapter 4, who is eligible for naturalization, goes into many more specifics. So you really want to make sure you're eligible before you do all this and send in the money, all right? There'll be the link for the military personnel and family members. There'll be the exemptions and accommodations link, okay? Frequently asked questions, the full guide to naturalization, if you want to look that over, the N-400 application, the N-400 application link, all right, and how to request a fee waiver. I'll put that down below as well. All right, resources. If you have more questions besides asking here at Essa Group, you could call the National Customer Service Center line. You can request an appointment from InfoPass there. And for legal advice, you can find help in your community. especially they have a lot of pro bono legal help, because someone like volunteer organizations can't actually give legal advice, so we're not able to do that. So you do have to go to legal, an attorney, an immigration attorney, but there's lots of places that do pro bono work. Okay. All right, so this concludes the general instructions on completing the Form N-400. And the next few videos, we're going to go through the N-400 application form step by step. We'll go through all 18 parts. Okay, thank you so much, and good luck to everybody. Hi, and welcome back. Today we're going to go over the N-400 form, parts 1 and 2 for U.S. citizenship. In our last video, we did the overall instructions, the general instructions for the whole form. Now we're going to break it down into the 18 parts and go over it a little bit more detailed. All right, so let's get started. And your form should look like this, right? The newest form that came out in April of 2016 should have this on the top. It expires 03/31/2019. So you want to make sure it says that, so you have the right form. And it's 20 pages, so you notice down here in the corner, this is page 1 of 20. They will be looking for all 20 pages, even though you're not going to write on all 20 pages. Okay? All right. To find the form, you need to go to uscis.gov/N-400, and you'll be able to see here Form N-400. Instructions, document checklist, all the good information is right there. All right, let's go back here. First things first, you want to make sure that you type or print in black ink. Everything should be extremely neat, okay, and easy to read. Not too many do not cross things out. Don't write in the margins. If you make too many mistakes, go ahead and start over with the new form. It's just so much better that way, okay? So type or print legibly in black ink. If you need extra space, big point, if you need extra space to complete any item in this application, and we'll go over when you see things, you know, if you need extra paper, you need to attach a separate sheet of paper and type or print at the top of each piece of paper your name and alien registration number, your A number, okay? Also, the page number, part number, and item number to which your answer refers, so they know exactly what you're talking about, okay? Also, answer all questions fully and accurately. If a question does not apply to you, for example, if you have never been married and the question asks, provide the name of your current spouse, type or print NA unless otherwise directed. Okay? Try to answer every question so they know you've seen it. If you leave a blank, they think you may have just skipped it and didn't see it. Okay? If your answer to a question which requires a numeric response is 0 or none, for example, how many children do you have? Or how many times have you departed the United States? Type or print none, the word none, okay? N-O-N-E, unless otherwise indicated. All right, so let's start here with part number 1. Okay, information about your eligibility. Okay, and I made some notes, so I'm going to read over here a little bit. Select the box that applies to you. Select only one box. If you select more than one box, your Form N-400 may be delayed, right? Please note, C, right here, if you are a lawful permanent resident of the United States and you are the spouse of a U.S. citizen and your U.S. spouse is regularly engaged in specified employment abroad, and you are authorized to accompany and reside with your spouse abroad, you do not qualify to naturalize overseas and must be present in the United States at the time of the interview and naturalization. Therefore, type or print the name of the USCIS field office where you would like to have your naturalization interviewed. okay? And so you can find the field office list right on the USCIS website. Alrighty, okay, and then of course military service there. All right, part 2, information about you. Your current legal name, do not provide a nickname. Your current legal name is the name on your birth certificate unless it changed after birth by a legal action such as marriage or a court order. Do not provide a nickname here. Okay? Item number 2, your name exactly as it appears on your permanent resident card. Type or print your name exactly as it appears, even if it is misspelled or has changed through marriage, divorce, or other court order since you received your card. Type or print NA if you do not have a permanent resident card. Okay. Number 3, other names you have used since birth. This is where you're going to include your nicknames, your aliases, and maiden name, if applicable. If you have used any other names or aliases, provide them in this section. And if you need extra space to complete this section, use a separate sheet of paper. And remember how we said and what to put on that separate sheet of paper when you attach it, okay? So they know exactly what you're talking about. All right. There we go. Oh, number 4, name change. Here we are. Name change. This is optional. A court can allow you to change your name when you are naturalized. Any name change you request on this application will not be final until you are naturalized by the court. Okay? If you want the court to change your name at your naturalization oath ceremony, select yes and complete this section. Okay? You do not need to request a name change if your name has changed through marriage, divorce, or other court order, okay? Because then it's already changed. Note, USCIS cannot process name change requests for members of the military or their spouses who are naturalizing overseas. Alrighty, here we go. Number 5, U.S. Social Security number. Provide your U.S. Social Security number here. Type or print NA if you do not have one. Okay. Item number 6 is the USCIS online account number. Okay, if you have one. If you have previously filed an application, petition, or request using the USCIS online filing system, which was previously called USCIS Electronic Immigration System, provide the online account number you were issued by the system. Okay? You can find it by logging into your account and going to the profile page. If you previously filed certain applications, petitions, or requests on a paper form via a USCIS lockbox facility, you actually may have received an online account access notice, actually issuing you an online account number. And if you received such a notice, your online account number can be found at the top of the notice. If you were issued an online account number, just go ahead and enter it in the space provided. And remember, the account number is not the same as the A number, okay? As the alien registration number. All right, gender. Indicate, please, if you are a male or female. Okay, date of birth. Always use 8 numbers to show your date of birth. Okay, type or print the date in this order: month, day, year. It's very important, and the U.S. uses that order. So, for example, for May 1st, 1958, we have 0505/01/1958. You're going to have 8 numbers there. Okay? USCIS will reject your form if you do not provide your date of birth. Okay. Item number 9, same thing here. Date you became a lawful permanent resident. All right, provide the official date when your permanent residence began as shown on your permanent resident card. All right, and the permanent resident card is also the alien registration card. Provide the date in the order again, month, day, year. And again, for example, if it is August 9th, 1988, you have 08/09/1988. USCIS may reject your application if you are a lawful permanent resident and you do not provide the date you became a lawful permanent resident. Okay, please note, you need both, right here, you need both your USCIS A number and your permanent resident date in order to file the N-400, okay? If you do not have this information, you need to schedule an appointment to obtain information before you file your N-400. And you can schedule an appointment with InfoPass. It's called InfoPass, and it's right on the USCIS website. Okay, make sure you have those two things, please. All right, number 10, country of birth. Let me see. Type or print the name of the country in which you were born. Use the name of the country at the time of your birth, even if the name of the country has changed. Okay. Number 11, country of citizenship or nationality. Type or print the name of the country as it currently exists, where you are currently a citizen or a national. Right? If the country no longer exists, type or print the current name of the country with current authority. Right? Also note, if you are stateless, type or print the name of the country as it currently exists where you were last a citizen or national. Okay? If you are a citizen or national of more than one country, type or print the name of the foreign country that issued your last passport. Okay? Makes sense? All right, item number 12. Do you have a physical or developmental disability or mental impairment that prevents you from demonstrating your knowledge and understanding of the English language and/or civics requirements for naturalization? Okay? You need to select yes if you are requesting an exemption to the English language and/or civics tests based on physical or developmental disability or mental impairment that prevents you from complying with the English language and/or civics requirements. Okay? You'll need to submit Form N-648. Okay, yeah, that's not here. There, it is on there. Form N-648, okay, when you file your N-400. Please note that filing that form does not guarantee that you will be exempted from the testing requirements. They will go over your form. Okay, item number 13, exemptions from the English language test. Depending on your age and the length of time you have been a lawful permanent resident, you may not be required to take the English language test. And you can see right here, you can refer to these. Are you 50 years of age or older? And have you lived in the United States as a lawful permanent resident for periods totaling at least 20 years at the time you file your Form N-400? So go through these very carefully if you are age 50 or older and have been in the United States for an extended period of time as a lawful permanent resident. Okay, and I will also provide the link below so you can find out more information about those exemptions and accommodations, things like that, okay? Alrighty, especially if you need an interpreter. Okay, that's it for sections 1 and 2, and we will be back tomorrow with the next section. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to continue with our series and go through the N-400 form, parts 3, 4, and 5. All right, quick review on how to fill out the form. Some quick reminders. Type or print legibly in black ink. If you need extra space, use and attach a separate sheet of paper. At the top of each sheet, type or print your name, your A number, if you have one, the page number, part number, and item number to which your answer refers. Okay, and also remember to answer all questions fully and accurately. If a question does not apply to you, type or print NA. If your answer to a question which requires a numeric response is 0 or none, type or print the word none. Okay, it's important that you don't leave blanks so they know you've seen every question. All right. Okay, let's get started with part 3. The accommodations for individuals with disabilities and or impairments. We're on page 2 of the N-400, part 3. So if you need this section, I am going to put down below in the comment section a link to more information on how to fill this out, because there's a lot of information that is too much to go through right now. But basically, there are various types of reasonable accommodations that USCIS does offer. So if you believe that you need a USCIS, if you need USCIS to accommodate your disability and or impairment, just go ahead and select yes in the box. And then if you need extra space to complete this section, please use the extra sheet of paper and put those items that we talked about before on that separate sheet of paper. Okay, so USCIS does consider requests for reasonable accommodations on a case-by-case basis. Requesting and or receiving an accommodation will not affect your eligibility for an immigration benefit. Right? Okay. And then let's go down here to part 4, information to contact you. Please provide your current telephone numbers as well as your current email address. Okay. Type or print NA if an item is not applicable or if the answer is none unless otherwise indicated. So if you don't have a work number, put NA, okay? Make sure to do that, please. If you are hearing impaired and use a TTY telephone connection, indicate this by writing TTY after the telephone number. Okay. All right, and then part 5, information about your residence. All right, where have you lived during the last 5 years? List every address where you have lived during the last 5 years, including other countries, prior to filling out your Form N-400. Okay, not if you're going to move somewhere. Don't worry about that. Right? Start with where you live now, and then include the dates for each place you have lived in a month, day, and year format, like we went over in the last video. Okay, and then, for example, if you type or print May 1st, 1998 as 05/01/1998. Okay, provide your mailing address if it is different from your current address. Provide in care of name information if that's applicable as well. If you do not have a state or province, enter the name of your city again in that box. So just re-enter the name of your city, okay, instead of the state or province. If you do not have a zip or postal code, go ahead and enter 00000 in the zip or postal code area. Okay. Please note, USCIS may not be able to contact you if you do not provide a complete and valid mailing address. If USCIS rejects your Form N-400, they may not be able to return the fee for the Form N-400 if you do not provide a complete and valid mailing address. So it's really important, okay? If you are residing outside of the U.S., filing under INA Section 319B, you will want USCIS to collect your biometrics in the United States. Then you must provide an address in the United States, okay? USCIS will send a letter to your U.S. mailing address notifying you when and where to go for your biometrics appointment. If you are a victim of domestic violence, you are not required to disclose the confidential address of a shelter or safe house. Okay, you're not required to do that. If you are residing in a shelter or safe house at the time of filing this application, or you do not feel safe providing your current address, you may provide a safe address where you are able to receive mail. friend's house or a relative's house, something like that. Do not provide a post office box number unless that is your only address. Okay? If you are not currently residing in a shelter or safe house but have resided in a shelter or safe house for part of the reporting period, you may provide just the name of the city and state of residence for the shelter or safe house. Okay? And then what they'll do is further clarification will happen at the interview. They'll talk about, that more at the interview. All right, that concludes parts 3, 4, and 5. So next video, we will continue on. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. We're going to go straight into the instructions for the next part of the Form N-400, parts 6, 7, and 8. All right, let's go back to our form, part 6, information about your parents. And right away you can see if neither one of your parents is a United States citizen, a U.S. citizen, then skip this part immediately and go to part 7. So basically the only reason you would fill out part 6 is if one of your parents is a U.S. citizen. One of your parents is a U.S. citizen or both of your parents are U.S. citizens. Okay, so let's see. Citizenship of parents. Complete item numbers 1, 2, and 3 in part 6. Select no if your mother or father are not U.S. citizens and proceed to the next item number or part as directed on the form. Okay. If one or both of your parents is a U.S. citizen, select yes and complete items A through E in item number 2. Here, A through E in item number 2 in part number 6 here. And mother's country of birth, you want to just do the same as we did in the previous in the previous video for yourself, where the country of birth is the country where you were born, even if the name of the country has changed. Okay, all right, and the same down here with your father. Okay, information about your father, part 3. Right, and again, yes, you complete this section. No, go straight to part 7, biographic information. So biographic information. Provide the biographic information requested in part 7, item numbers 1 through 6. Providing this information as part of your application may reduce the time you spend at your appointment as described in the biometric services appointment. Okay, so it is required and it's helpful to you. So the categories and definitions. So for ethnicity, you're going to select only one box. For number 2, the race, you can select all applicable boxes, which ones you identify with. Okay, so going through the categories and definitions, Hispanic or Latino is a person of Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, South or Central American, or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. Okay, and note this category is only included under ethnicity in part 7, number 1. Okay, you can see number 2 does not have Hispanic or Latino in it. Okay, so going down to the number 2, race, white is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Right? Asian, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, or the Indian subcontinent, including, for example, Cambodia, China, India, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Pakistan, the Philippine Islands, Thailand, and Vietnam. Okay. Number 4, the fourth one there is Black or African American, a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. American Indian or Alaska Native, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, and who maintains tribal affiliation or community attachment. Okay. Number 6, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, or other Pacific Islands. Okay. So those are the definitions, and you choose as many as you feel are applicable to yourself. All right. Let's go to item number 3, height. Select the values that best match your height in feet and inches. For example, if you are 5 feet 9 inches, select 5 for the feet and 0.9 for the inches. The inches should have two numbers. Do not enter your height in meters or centimeters. Okay, if you do so, your form will be delayed. And then we have weight. Enter your weight in pounds. If you do not know your weight or need to enter a weight under 30 or over 699 pounds, enter 000. Okay? Do not enter your weight in kilograms. Please make sure it is pounds. All right, then we have eye color. Select the box that best describes your eye color, and then the same with hair color, the box that best describes your hair color. All right, and then we have part 8, information about your employment and schools you attend. Oh, before, I don't think I've been mentioning this. At the top of every page is this box here with the A number. Please make sure that you are filling it out on the top of every page. Okay? Alrighty. List where you have worked or attended school full-time or part-time during the last 5 years. Okay? Provide information for the complete time period. Include all military, police, and/or intelligence service. Begin by providing information about your current and most recent employment, studies, or unemployment, if applicable. Provide the locations and dates where you worked, were self-employed, were unemployed, or have studied during the last 5 years. If you worked for yourself, write self-employed. Right? If you were unemployed, write unemployed. All right? And again, if you need to add extra sheets of paper, please do that, how we talked about in the previous videos. Okay, adding the required information. All right. All right, and that brings us to page 6 of 20. And we will move on with part 9 in the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to go over parts 9 and 10 of the N-400 form, the application for U.S. naturalization for U.S. citizenship. Quick reminders: type or print legibly in black ink. If you need extra space, use and attach a separate sheet of paper. At the top of each sheet, type or print your name, your alien registration number, the page number, part number, and item number to which your answer refers. Answer all questions fully and accurately. If a question does not apply to you, type or print NA. If your answer to a question which requires a numeric response is 0 or none, type or print the word none. Please be very careful. Please write neatly and avoid crossing things out. They use scanners, so don't, write outside the margins, things like that. They do use scanners, so you don't want your application to be messed up. Otherwise, it can get delayed. All right, so let's go right here to the actual N-400, Part 9, Time Outside the United States. Here you're going to provide the total number of days you spent outside the United States during the last 5 years. I filled this out a little bit to give you an idea. You're going to go here, your most recent trip, and then work backwards. You're going to list all the trips of 24 hours or longer that you have taken outside the United States for the last 5 years, or 3 years if you are married to a U.S. citizen and applying based on that. So here you can see I put as an example June 15th, 2016 to June 25th, 2016. Hopefully all these, did your trip last 6 months or more, will be answered no. Country which you traveled, England here, I put total days 10, and you're going to list your trips in order, starting with the most recent. So you can see here, I put down I went on a trip once a year, 2016, 2015, 2014. Total days outside the United States for each trip, 10, 8, 61. Added together, that makes 79 days, which I will put right up here. And how many trips do I have? 3, and I'll put that right there. Okay, if you had more trips, use additional sheets of paper. That's all, and attach them to the end of the form. And then don't forget to put all that information that we talked about before on each additional sheet of paper. Okay, this is very important. This section is very important because it will answer the questions about continuous residence and physical presence requirements for naturalization. So that's why these numbers are so important. Continuous residence means that the applicant has maintained residence within the United States for the required period of time, and that you did not leave the United States for long periods of time, such as absences of more than 6 months, okay, or absences in excess of 1 year. That is going to maybe disrupt your continuous residence. Also, your physical presence. They want to make sure that you have been physically present in the U.S. for the required amount of time. Okay, I will put this link below so you can check that out more thoroughly. Continuous residence and physical presence requirements for naturalization. All right, so that is part 9, time outside the United States. Let's move on here. Part 10, information about your marital history. What is your current marital status? And you're going to select your marital status on the date you file your N-400. Okay? Please do not put separated unless you are legally separated. Doesn't count if you just moved out. Okay? All right. And you're going to go through each of these questions. It's pretty self-explanatory here. Some questions that I get often, how many times have you been married? This is number 3. How many times have you been married? If you just have the one marriage, you're married right now, just put 1, right? If you're single and never been married, just skip this whole part, right, and go to part 11. All right, if you are married now, though, you're going to provide all the information about your current spouse. All right. And you're going to keep going down. If you were married before, you will see question 9 here. If you were married before, provide the following information about your prior spouse. So that means you will need to fill this all in about your prior spouse. Also included is the date the marriage ended with your prior spouse. Okay? And you are also going to need to have proof that this marriage did in fact end. You will need to submit the divorce decree or annulment or death certificate, anything like that, that definitely says your marriage has ended before you were married again. If you go back up here to question 8 in part 10, you will also notice that if your current spouse was married before, you're going to need all that your current spouse's prior spouse's information. All right, they need to know that both you and your new husband or wife were definitely divorced or annulled or widowed, that previous marriage was ended. That's why that needs to be filled out. And again, if you need additional sheets of paper, you could go ahead. If you have more than one previous spouse, go ahead and attach additional sheets of paper. Okay. All right, so that is part 9 and 10 of the N-400. Please send any questions below about this part of the form, and we will try to get you the answers right away. All right, continue on with part 11 in the next video. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to go over parts 11 and 12 of the Form N-400, the U.S. Citizenship Application for Naturalization. Okay, let's continue. Quick reminders, once again, type or print legibly in black ink. If you need extra space, use and attach a separate sheet of paper. This is going to be really important in section 12. Okay, attach a separate sheet of paper, and at the top of each sheet, type or print your name, your alien registration number, if any, the page number, part number, and item number to which your answer refers. Okay, all questions must be answered fully and accurately. Please, please be honest, especially in this part 12. There's a lot of questions here. If a question does not apply to you, type or print NA. If your answer to a question, which requires a numeric response, is 0 or none, type or print the word none. All right, let's get started. Part 11. Item number 1, indicate your total number of children. Remember, count all of your children, regardless of whether they are alive, missing, deceased, born in other countries or in the United States, under 18 years of age or over 18 years of age, married or unmarried, living with you or elsewhere, current stepchildren, legally adopted children, or children born when you were not married. Okay. Item number 2, provide information about all your children listed in item number 1, regardless of age. If needed, use a separate sheet of paper to provide the information requested. Provide the following information for each child. Okay, going to do the child's current legal name, the A number, if applicable, date of birth, country of birth. Print or type the name of the country at the time of your child's birth, even if the name of the country has changed. Okay. Relationship to you, for example, biological child, stepchild, legally adopted child, and the child's current address. Okay, a little bit more information here. If the child is residing with you, you can write right here in the current address, child residing with me, just like that. Okay. If the child is residing somewhere else, please put the full street number and name, the full address here. Okay. If your son or daughter is missing or deceased, please put child missing or child deceased in the address section. Okay. All right. Moving on to part 12, additional information about you. There's lots of questions right here, okay? So in items 1 through 50, you're going to answer each question by selecting yes or no where applicable. If any part of a question applies to you or has ever applied to you, you must answer yes. If you answer yes to any of the questions in items number 1 through 44 in this part, you need to include a typed or printed explanation on a separate sheet of paper. You may also provide evidence to support your answers. Okay? And then, if you answer no to any of the questions down here in items 45 through 50, you're going to do the same. You're going to include a typed or printed explanation on a separate sheet of paper. Okay? And remember, your answers, whether yes or no, will not automatically cause your application to be denied. Right? The most important part is to be honest and truthful. And I want to go over a couple common questions that we have usually in this part. First of all, I want you to see that the word ever has been, capitalized and bolded. Okay, so have you ever, okay, in the history, in your history here, okay, in your life, okay, have you ever claimed to be a U.S. citizen in writing or any other way? So you're going to go ahead and answer all these questions one at a time. Hopefully most of these in the first part will be no's, okay? Sometimes this one, number 7, have you ever not filed a federal, state, or local tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident? This answer is sometimes confusing because some people didn't file. Maybe they were retired, or they didn't have a job, they were unemployed. You can find more information by going to irs.gov, okay, irs.gov. And you can get a transcript of your returns, which you would probably need anyway to bring to your interview. You can also get this one right here at irs.gov. Do you need to file a return? Okay, and you can go back here and check, did I need to file a return or do I need to file a return? You can look here and you could check the tax year you're asking about. So you can go back and check, oh, did I need to file a return in 2013? Because I didn't, and that could be a problem if you don't have a valid reason, a valid explanation. So the best thing to do is double check that. Very important. All right, let's go back here. Another one, let me see. Okay, number 9. Have you ever been a member of, involved in, or in any way associated with any organization, association, fund, foundation, party, club, society, or similar group in the United States or in any other location in the world? Okay, most people look at that and they get all scared because they think they're asking about just terrorist organizations or things like that. They're not. They're asking about any organizations, and most people, to be honest with you, are involved in organizations. It shows that you're part of the community. So you can go ahead and answer yes, and then maybe you were a member of the middle school PTA, maybe you were a member of the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, something like that. You could go ahead and put the name of your church, your temple, your mosque, something like those organizations, that you are an active member in the community. That's okay, all right? So to that, and if you need more space, go ahead and add that extra sheet of paper. All right, now let me see some other questions down here. Okay, down here in all the in the item numbers 22 to 28. Okay, and if any of the item numbers 22 through 28 apply to you, you must answer yes, even if your records have been sealed, expunged, or otherwise cleared. You must disclose this information even if someone, including a judge, law enforcement officer, or attorney, told you that it no longer constitutes a record or told you that you do not have to disclose the information. Okay? Remember, they are going to have a copy of your records. You are doing your fingerprints at your biometrics. They will have this in front of you. So you don't want to tell a non-truth and then have them see that you're actually lying because they have the information. They are going to be checking. So please, it's better to be upfront and honest and give the documents that you need to turn in. Right? Okay. So go very carefully. Now right here, frequent question and answers from USCIS. If I have been convicted of a crime but my record has been expunged, do I need to write that on my application or tell a USCIS officer? Yes, again, yes. You should always be honest with USCIS about all arrests, even if you were not charged or convicted, convictions, even if your record was cleared or expunged, crimes you have committed for which you were not arrested or convicted, and any countervailing evidence or evidence in your favor concerning the circumstances of your arrest. and or convictions or offenses that you would like USCIS to consider. Okay, now this is important right here. Even if you have committed a minor crime, USCIS might deny your application if you do not tell the USCIS officer about the incident. Remember, they are most likely going to know, right? So you want to disclose that information to show that you're being honest. Note that unless a traffic incident, very important here, unless a traffic incident was alcohol or drug related, you do not need to submit documentation for traffic fines and incidents that did not involve an actual arrest if the only penalty was a fine less than $500 and or points on your driver's license. Okay, so you don't need to do any of that unless you were arrested and if the fine was above $500. Okay? All right, I hope that makes sense. Shoot me a message below if you have any questions there, and I will try my best to find an answer for you. You're going to keep going through all of these questions very carefully, right? And again, if you have any questions about the wording of any of these, please let me know. Number 38, right here. Are you currently a member of the U.S. Armed Forces? The U.S. Armed Forces, you're going to read very carefully about citizenship for military members. Okay, there's some different ways to go about citizenship for military members, so you want to be familiar with that area. All right, and then okay. Number 44, are you a male who lived in the United States at any time between your 18th and 26th birthdays? Okay, this is very important because they often ask for a selective service letter. Okay, so you can go to sss.gov, the Selective Service System, and you can get a proof of registration. When you get your letter back in the mail after you do your application, they might ask you to bring the proof of registration for selective service. And this is where you get it, right here. This at the sss.gov website. And you could go ahead and if you don't have your registration acknowledgement letter anymore, you can go ahead and ask for another copy. Okay. And remember that is for males who lived in the United States between their 18th and 26th birthdays. Okay. All right, let's go down here to items 45 through 50. And most of these are going to be yes. Okay, or all of them technically should be yes. However, if you answer no, you're going to need to include a typed or printed explanation on additional sheets of paper and provide any evidence to support your answers. All right, so number 45, do you support the Constitution and form of government of the United States? Yes. Do you understand the full oath of allegiance to the United States? Yes. In your interview, if you are asked, what does that mean? What does the full oath of allegiance mean? It means to be loyal. You are promising to be loyal to the United States. An oath is a promise. Allegiance is loyalty. It's a promise to be loyal to the United States. Are you willing to take the full oath of allegiance to the United States? Yes. If the law requires it, are you willing to bear arms on behalf of the United States? Okay, this one gets a little tricky. Most people just answer yes. However, if you want to have an exemption for religious purposes or conscientious objections to bearing arms on behalf of the United States, you can go ahead and check that box, but then you must show You must show opposition to the clause based on religious training and belief or deeply held moral or ethical code. Okay, you're going to have to submit paperwork and evidence to say that you're checking no to number 48 there. Number 49, if the law requires it, are you willing to perform non-combatant services to the U.S. Armed Forces? That's non-combatant services means that, not in combat, basically. Okay. If the law requires it, are you willing to perform work of national importance under civilian direction? And you want to check yes in that box as well. All right, and that concludes parts 11 and 12. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll continue on with part 13 tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to finish up the Form N-400 with parts 13 through 18. This is the N-400 form, the U.S. Citizenship application for naturalization. All right, so let's just get started right away. We are on part 13. Remember, this is a one in a series of videos that I have out. So part 13 is the applicant's statement, certification, and signature. And right away it says, read the penalties section of the Form N-400 instructions. So I'm going to read that to you. And it basically says what we've been talking about. If you knowingly and willfully falsify or conceal a material fact or submit a false document with this Form N-400, USCIS can deny your form and may deny any other immigration benefit. In addition, you may face criminal prosecution and penalties provided by law. Okay, so that is obviously very important. All right, let's move on to the applicant's statement. So in part 13, it's the applicant's statement, certification, and signature. So items 1 through 6 in this section, you're going to select the appropriate box to indicate whether you read this application yourself or whether you had an interpreter assist you. If someone assisted you in completing the application, select the box indicating that you used a preparer. Further, you must sign and date your application. Every application must contain a signature of the applicant, a stamped or typewritten name in place of a signature is not acceptable. You may place an X mark instead of the signature if you are unable to write in any language. And you could go ahead, people have asked me whether, can I print? Can I, just sign your name how you would sign any document, the school note to the school, your kid's note to the school, anything like that, how you would go ahead and sign, right? Okay, and if it is not signed, USCIS will reject the application immediately. Okay, so it's very important that you sign that, and you know you're going to make copies of all these things before you send out your packet, but make sure you don't send a copy of your signature, right? When you send your package, make sure that the form that you sign has your original signature on it, not a copy. All right, part 14, the interpreter's contact information, certification, and signature. This is if you used an interpreter. If you didn't, go ahead and write NA in those areas, or in that area right there. Okay, for part 17, numbers 1 through 7, if you used anyone as an interpreter to read the instructions and questions on this application to you in a language in which you are fluent, the interpreter must fill out this section. Provide his or her name, the name and address of his or her business or organization, if any, his or her daytime telephone number, his or her mobile telephone number, if any, and his or her email address, if any. The interpreter must sign and date the application. Okay, again, an original signature here, please. All right. Okay, you can see right here where you put your signatures. Part 15, the contact information, declaration, and signature of the person preparing this application, if other than the applicant. Okay, if you are not using a preparer, go ahead and put NA in there, please. If you are using a preparer, items number 1 through 8. This section must contain the signature of the person who completed your application, if other than you, the applicant. If the same individual acted as your interpreter and your preparer, that person should complete both parts 14 and 15. If the person who completed this application is associated with a business or organization, that person should complete the business or organization name and address information. Anyone who helped you complete this application must sign and date the application. Okay, very important. A stamped or typewritten name in place of a signature is not acceptable. Again, please remember that. If the person who helped you prepare your application is an attorney or accredited representative whose representation extends beyond preparation of the application, he or she might be obliged to also submit a completed Form G28, Notice of Entry of Appearance as Attorney or Accredited Representative, along with your application. Okay, and that is here, the Form G28, if you're going to have the appearance of an attorney or accredited representative with you. Okay, because you need help during that interview. Okay, back again. All right, so USCIS will reject your form if it is not signed by the preparer you used to prepare the questions on the application. So again, right here, you're going to have the preparer's statement and then the preparer's signature. Okay, please again make sure all those signatures are original signatures and not photocopies or typed or stamped. Very important. Okay, moving on. You're almost done because you don't have to fill the rest of this out, but you do have to send these pages in. Please, please, please. People have gotten their entire application back because they knew they didn't have to fill these next parts out, but then they didn't send it. Make sure you send these last pages in, okay? All pages, even if they're blank, send them in. Because for part 16, the signature at the interview, notice here, at the interview, do not complete this part when you send in your application. You will complete part 16 at the interview. Do not sign anything. You will take an oath at the interview and then sign it. Do not fill that part out. Again, part 17, right here, do not fill out this part either. Okay, most people, and then this is the renunciation of foreign titles. Most people do not have a foreign hereditary title or order of nobility. Imagine that. This part will apply only if you answered yes to part 12, items A and B in item number 4. That's a bit confusing, but if you look back here on page, I think it was page like 11, all the way back up here in part 12, number 4, do you have now or did you ever have a hereditary title or an order of nobility in any foreign country? If you checked yes, okay, then this is going to pertain to you. And then B, if you answered yes, are you willing to give up any inherited titles or orders of nobility that you have in a foreign country at your naturalization ceremony? That you will also have to check yes there, if that is true. Okay, let's go back to that part. Where are we? Part 15. We're almost done. Here we are, part 17. Okay, this is important because in part 17 you must affirm you are ready to do so. If you have a hereditary title or order of nobility, the law requires you to renounce this title as part of your oath ceremony in order to become a U.S. citizen. Okay, there we go. All right, now last but not least, and remember, you're not going to touch part 16, 17, or 18 until you get to the interview and the officer will tell you what to do. Don't sign, but please send this page in. I've had people get their entire application back because they forgot this part. All right, again, the oath of allegiance. Do not complete this part. The USCIS officer will ask you to complete this part at your interview. If the officer approves your application, you must take this oath of allegiance to become a U.S. citizen. In limited cases, you can take a modified oath. The oath requirement cannot be waived unless you are unable to understand its meaning because of a physical or developmental disability or mental impairment. For more information, we could see Guide to Naturalization. I'll put that link down below. Your signature on this application only indicates that you have no objections to taking the oath of allegiance. It does not mean that you have taken the oath or that you are naturalized. If USCIS approves your form for naturalization, then you must attend an oath ceremony and take the oath of allegiance to the United States. So even during your interview, when the officer says, if everything goes well and he says sign here, or she says sign here, and you sign it, that does not mean you are a citizen at that moment. That means that you will get an appointment either that day or later in a month or two to go to an oath ceremony. After you have taken the oath at your ceremony, that's when you will become a citizen. Okay? The oath of allegiance, please remember, the oath of allegiance means a promise to be loyal. You're going to promise to be loyal to the United States. Many officers ask, are you willing to take the oath of allegiance? Yes, I'm willing to take it. Do you know what it means? Can you explain it in your own words? Many people say, no, they don't know what it means. So please know what this means. It means that you will be loyal to the United States. Okay, and that's it. The end, page 20 of 20. Make sure you send in all 20. Any questions, please send them down below. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye and good luck. Hello, we're back again today with a new video about applying for U.S. citizenship. Today we're going to go over the N-400 document checklist. These are the documents that you need to send with your N-400 application for U.S. citizenship. Okay, so all applicants must send the following 3 items with their N-400 application. So the first thing you want to do is send a photocopy of both sides of your permanent resident card. Okay, so both sides of your permanent resident card. If you lost your card, you are going to need to attach a photocopy of any other entry document or a photocopy of the receipt showing that you have filed Form I-90, which is the application to replace your permanent resident card. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, you will need to supply photographs. You want to provide 2 identical color photographs of yourself taken recently. Okay, the photographs must have a white to off-white background, be printed on thin paper with a glossy finish, and be unmounted and unretouched. The easiest thing to do, I find, is to go get passport photos at your local CVS or pharmacy store. They print them right there. That's the easiest thing to submit, and they are the right size, a 2x2. Your head must be bare unless contrary to your religious beliefs. And if your religion requires, oh my goodness, I can't speak today. If your religion requires you to wear a head covering, your facial features must still be exposed in the photo for purposes of identification. Okay, very important. Using a pencil or a felt pen, lightly print your name and A number on the back of the photos. Okay, you want to submit that. And number 3, everybody must submit the filing fee. And this is very important. You'll see why in a minute. You need a check or money order for the application fee and the biometric services fee, also known as the fingerprinting. Okay, so you want to write your A number on the back of the check or money order, and you may combine the fees into one check or money order. Make your check or money order payable to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And here's the important part. You have to double check the fees. Make sure that you double check the fees before you write that check or get the money order. Right now, today, the current total is $680. Okay, that's the $595 for the N-400 application, and then the $85 for the fingerprints. Now, you do not have to pay for the fingerprints if you are 75 years old or older, or if you're filing under the military. Okay? This is important because the USCIS cannot accept a biometric service fee if you are not required to pay a biometric service fee. And then the USCIS will reject your form if you submit the incorrect fee, okay, or an incorrect payment method. Okay, so you don't want to submit more or less. You have to submit the exact amount. So you're going to use the following guidelines to pay for your application. You must pay for each application using a single payment method. Don't send a check and a money order, okay? Just, you can send 2 checks or 2 money orders, but not a combination. Use the same payment method for all the applications that are mailed together. And you must again submit all the fees in the exact amounts, okay? Do not mail cash. We should know that, right? Let's see. So payments by check or money order, you need to be drawn on a bank or financial institution within the U.S., okay, and be payable in U.S. currency. Make the checks or money orders payable to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Don't abbreviate, okay? Write out the whole thing, please. If you live outside the states, you're going to need to contact your embassy for instructions on how to pay. Okay, again, here you can double check the current filing fees. All right, just go to uscis.gov/N400, and there's a tab there that says filing fees, and it will give you the up-to-date. Okay, if you'd like to pay by credit card, you need to submit a form G1450. You can see that link. And you could pay your form by credit card, and then you'll put that form right on top of your whole application. Okay, so they know that you're going to be paying by credit card. All right, again, double check the filing fees, okay? And you can check online, or you can call the customer service center. All right, so that is for everybody. Those 3 things are for everyone, no matter what your case, right? But the next slides are specific to each particular case. So if something pertains to you, just pause the video and read the slide carefully, because I'm not going to read every slide because there's just too many. So if you see something that pertains to you, read it very carefully, and then go ahead and ask me any questions or, to clarify. All right? Also, please send copies of anything unless it asks for an original. All right, let's get started. So if you have ever been married, please send with your N-400 application a photocopy of your current legal marital status document. Okay. If you were married before, you need to make sure that you have proof that all earlier marriages have ended. whether it was divorce, annulment, or death certificate, right? If your current legal name is different from the name on your permanent resident card, you need to send evidence that it was changed, that it was legally changed. Okay? If you are applying on the basis of marriage to a U.S. citizen, there's 4 items that you need to send, right? One would be evidence that your spouse has been a U.S. citizen for the last 3 years, your current marriage certificate, proof of termination of all prior marriages, and documents referring to you and your spouse. Okay. If you have a dependent spouse or children that do not live with you currently, you need to send government documents, court or government document order that you're providing financial support, okay, and evidence of your financial support. If you have taken any trip outside the U.S. that lasted 6 months or more since becoming a permanent resident, you will need to provide evidence that you continue to have ties with the U.S. That's very important, okay? And there's examples of what you would need to send. If you have ever failed to file an income tax return since you became a lawful permanent resident, okay, even if you didn't need to, you still need to submit evidence that you didn't need to. So all correspondence, you want to send all correspondence with the IRS regarding your failure to file. Okay, and you can look at irs.gov. They have an extensive website, and there's even a portion that says, do I need to file a tax return? And you could go back and click on a certain date, click on a certain year, and answer the questions, and it'll let you know for sure. Okay. If you have any federal, state, or local taxes that are overdue, you want to send documentation. So see below, okay? And you can obtain the tax documents very easily by right there on irs.gov. Okay? If you are applying for a disability exception to the testing requirement, disability exemption to the testing requirements, okay, there is a form for that, and that will need to be an original. Okay, that is Form N-648. Right. If you did not register with the Selective Service and you are male, you're 26 years old or older, and you lived in the United States in a status other than as a lawful non-immigrant between the ages of 18 and 26, you're going to need to send a status information letter. Okay, and you can see below how to go about getting that letter. Right. If an attorney or accredited representative is acting on your behalf, you need to send a form with your N-400 for that so that they know someone else is acting on your behalf. That's Form G-28, G28. All right, documents for military personnel or spouses of military personnel to send with the N-400. Okay, these are some original forms. It's Form N-426. And also, if you go to uscis.gov/military, that's going to give you a lot of information about the military requirements, okay? All right. If you have ever been arrested, these are a lot of originals, okay? If you have ever been arrested or detained by any law enforcement officer for any reason, and no charges were filed, just need to send an original official statement, okay? If you have ever been arrested or detained by any law enforcement officer for any reason and charges were filed, you need to send an original or court-certified copy of the complete arrest record, okay? So you want to go through this. If you have any problems, if you have had any problems with the law, all right? If you've ever been convicted and placed in an alternative sentencing program or rehabilitation program, you want to send evidence and certified court copies of the sentencing record for each incident. If you have ever had any arrest or conviction vacated, set aside, sealed, expunged, or otherwise removed from your record, you will need to send evidence. Okay? And that's it. Okay, so those are the documents that you want to send with your N-400 application. What we're going to do in the next video is go over which documents you will need to bring with you to the actual interview. Okay, so it's best to make sure you go over, make sure you send what you need to send with your application so it doesn't get delayed, right? And then we'll talk about what to bring with you to the interview. All right, thank you and have a great day.